Hi everyone, we are EmergeSF, and as a collective, we wanted to focus on post-rehabilitation support to emerge in self, culture, and community. We started as a group of 4 talking about our passions and found we were curious of the support that happens for people not only during rehabilitation, but past that. To go over our inspirations briefly, for me, being a psychology major, I took courses that highlighted addictions and disorders and wanted to learn more about this population.
And so for my inspiration, it was truly from interacting with a little girl that I was babysitting that had a parent that was uh, going through substance abuse issues, and just seeing how much it affected her really inspired me.
For my inspiration, I realized how influential art and culture was to post-rehabilitation experiences after talking to my friends about their rehabilitation programs and lived experiences.
My inspiration comes from a personal connection. So my father has had an addiction for substance abuse since before I was born, and unfortunately he hasn't been successful in rehabilitation. EmergeSF is going to be a great stepping stone for long-term success. For the collaborators, I am Alexandra Hamilton, and I am class of 2021. I'm also a double major in international business and finance.
I'm Kyla Obillos, and I am class of 2020, a psychology major with a child and youth studies minor.
I am Mutale Mulenga. I am a kinesiology major, double minor in child and youth studies and sociology. I'm also class of 2020.
I'm Mack, Callicrate. I am a politics major and a legal studies minor, also class of 2020.
So our mission, the purpose of our service is to provide aftercare for post-rehabilitation patients in the San Francisco community. We want to ensure that they have continued support during their road to recovery, reinsertion into society, employment, and successful maintenance of their future health.
What makes us unique is that we encompass the entire San Francisco community. New members who engage in centralized healing and growth will build their own network and build their own programs through personal leadership and development throughout the EmergeSF model.
I will be talking a little bit more about the research we conducted prior. And so in pretty much in San Francisco, there are over around 40 mixture of rehabilitation centers, treatment services, programs, and other like assisted treatments. In 2012 to 2013, there were 4,091 people in San Francisco County that received treatment for substance abuse, and that number pretty much doubled in 2018, which was about 8,609 admissions into rehabilitation programs. And this drug use was concentrated in the neighborhoods of Tenderloin, South Market, and Mission. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why it's so important. And so in this chart, it kind of talks about, and it shows the amount of deaths and how it has risen from 2006. And we want to be a part of changing that and creating the decline in that, but with the creation of these post-rehabilitation programs.
And while the statistics are very important, it was also important to us to listen and reach out to our community members. I actively reached out to a few. One notably was our campus psychological services center for the University of San Francisco, who focused on the ways in which they wanted a extensive program that didn't just cover 4 years, that had community growth and healing using a harm reduction model throughout individuals who take part in rehabilitation's lifetime.
And so I had a couple conversations with folks at the Bayview Hunters Point Clinic, and one of the really important striking quotes that they said was that the first and most important thing is building trust when you're working with any community. Trauma-informed care should be the center for any care-focused organization. That is something that we are definitely taking to heart, is to acknowledge people's past, not as a burden, but as something that happened and that is going to help push us forward as we continue helping through this post-rehabilitation process. And then another quote that was very striking was, people have an open heart about mental health now, especially in the younger generation, with more clinics in predominantly POC areas. And especially as I mentioned in the last slide, that the neighborhoods that are mostly affected are neighborhoods that have mostly people of color. We want to be able to ensure that we can also take part in changing the stigma around mental health or getting help in all forms.
So we will be offering success and career services. These services are specifically for individuals who are eager to move to a higher level of functioning, who want more focus and motivation, and who are seeking to have more balance in their lives. We really want people to be able to set better goals for themselves and then to ultimately reach those goals.
For community engagement, my role is to engage the community with each other, find similar hobbies and interests between community members, and cultivate those relationships. After researching with rehabilitation centers and addiction centers, we found that at first a sober life may seem bored and lonely or even helpless. And so we want to provide those different activities as social and mental outlets, and start off providing these once every 2 weeks, bringing in instructors for yoga, paint night, running club, and aerobics class, and many more ideas for whatever the community would like to see.
All right, I'm going to be talking about the diversity, equity, and inclusion piece. So we want to be able to ensure that every affinity group is well supported with necessary resources they need. And I'll be talking a little bit more about affinity groups on the next slide. We also want to make sure that we are able to facilitate conversations around inclusion and harmony. Also be bringing in psychologists for weekly talks on various mental health topics, as well as hosting monthly dinners with staff and EmergeSF community members to continue growing community building. All right, and so I'm also going to be talking about the affinity groups that I mentioned earlier. So at EmergeSF, we want to acknowledge and embrace everyone's different identities. So we have created these affinity groups where folks are able to talk as a group, that for those that identify in the group or that may be allies, about issues that they may be facing. Each affinity group would be able to meet bi-weekly and would be led by somebody in the community. The meeting topic would be chosen by those in that group. And some of these examples are mentioned here on this slide, but I'm not exclusive to this. We're very open to as many other affinity groups that may be needed.
So through personal leadership and development within the EmergeSF community, individuals' personal experiences and lived experiences are utilized through the healing process. They engage within the community and then become community experts, creating their own initiatives, their own departments, and becoming directors basically of the organization themselves. EmergeSF is rooted in developing our community that mirrors our community. And so providing leadership and development as an avenue to building EmergeSF up and growing it is a huge part of the organization itself. It creates the focus of a leader and also the focus of everyone in the community as a leader. Speaking of how we grow and how individuals grow, Elevate SF is kind of our plan for establishing EmergeSF. And so in our first year, we really want to focus in on reaching out to our community engagers and different initiative programs so we can learn how to better reach the populations we want to welcome in. And years 2 through 4 and 5 will be talked about by Kyla.
We essentially want to have this community support system. And so we want to engage and expand this healing space. For the next 2 to 4 years, we would love for new members to join and bring a new aspect, idea, or perspective to the table. And for years 5 and beyond, we would love to expand to the larger Bay Area in cities like Daly City, San Mateo, San Jose, Oakland, Richmond, so that we can really reach the full experience. In addition, because we are in a really uncertain and unique time, we potentially would love to open and adapt to expand into the world virtually, to have these resources for people who can't go to the center physically right now, but still need that support from their own homes.
And we'd like to give a very special thank you to all of these individuals who helped us collaborate on this.